Welcome. Scott here. Here is a quick boss guide for the current global exclusive event, Eyes on the Prize. Sorry for the delay as I am busy with work lately and the lots of the mechanics needs be tested thoroughly before I release this guide. The featured units are Freya and Zidane from Final Fantasy IX, Siren from Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles and Ferris from Final Fantasy V. We will be fighting two Orothkamila which have 20 million HP each. They are the original boss fight from Kaduch Lost Chapters. They are immune to any debuffs that prevent action, initial brave, and freeze debuffs. They are immune to delay include delay from breaks. They are immune to launches as well. The turn requirement is 60. You need to bring a spear unit for the fight. Firstly, let's go through the LUFENIA plus orb conditions. The orb will be activated at 79% HP threshold with the counter of 10. Upon its activation, the orb is not cancelable. The LUFENIA plus countdown ability is fatal. Every action that your party takes will downtick the orb by 3. You can uptick the orb as long as you fulfill any 3 of the following conditions. 1. Player recovers HP with ability will uptick the orb by 1. 2. Delete the boss turns will uptick the orb by 15. Only the orb on the deleted target will uptick. 3. Evade their attack will uptick the orb by 15. For the turn deletion, you can consider to bring either one of the following 3 units, Zidane, Amidalion, or Cross. Ultimecia has turn deletion utility after her burst phase, but I won't suggest to bring her as her kit is a bit dated at the moment. We have a lot of evasion options, but it is important to note that all forms of boss recast ability is guaranteed hit attack. With a lock call, Freya and Kain are safe dodge options as they will hide in the air, thus evading the attack. You can still use traditional evasion units like Rydia, Kater, Leela or Golov. However, you will need to have some utility to handle the recast ability attacks, which I will discuss in later party of the guide. As healing ability will uptick the orb as well, traps with healing effect are very useful here. Firion and Maria are great options to consider here as well. Using healing abilities while in summon or burst phase will uptick the orb by 3. As the downtick penalty is strict, there will be a lot of emphasis on the orb management for this fight. Now let's proceed with some party setup recommendations. Recommended calls abilities. To ensure that you are able to constantly break them, it is important to inflict defense down debuffs. Example of calls abilities that inflict defense down calls are Ferris, Jack, Titus, and Vanille. As the boss has a huge amount of HP, bringing HP damage up debuff calls like Karasame, Seymour, Fran, Alisai, Lily-Set, Maria, Dark Knight Cecil, Ignis, and Gabrinth will help a lot. Aura-type damage booster calls like Leo, Kamari, and Locke will also help greatly for the fight. As mentioned earlier, it is important to keep the brave of the boss under control. Call options like Kater and Arsila are useful here. Setzer Freeze Joker won't be useful here as the boss is immune to freeze debuff. You can uptick the orb to its max by using a turn deletion call. Zidane and Amidalion are great options. Do note that you need to break the boss turns to delete an enemy turn with Zidane. Next, I will be covering units that will be useful to handle the fight mechanics. Like other LUFENIA Plus events, it is always recommended to bring supports for their aura and buffs. They are Garnet, Ramza, Eiko, Leela, Porum, Setzer, Agrias, Kate Sith, Queen, Ishtala, Bartz, Rem, Lyud, and Siren. Setzer will be hampered here a bit as the boss is immune to both delays and his freeze debuff. However, his rainbow utility will still help a lot for the fight. If you are using Leela, make sure you have brave control debuffs when the boss recast gauge is up. Eiko is a safety option as she can revive the party if you accidentally trigger the orb. But you need to ensure that she don't get petrified by the boss recast ability, as the boss will most likely get their turns. Units that offer damage mitigation are important for the fight. Examples are Snow, Core, Gladiolus, Warrior of Light, Beatrix, Orin, Zack, Guy, Bash, and Nine. 9 will fulfill the spear unit requirements. His White Knight is very useful for tanking against the boss attacks. You can bring evasion tank like 8, Redia, Cater or Glove. But make sure you keep the boss Brave under control here. To meet the clear requirements, you need to bring a spear unit. You can consider bringing Freya, Kain, 9, Lyud or Sid. Freya will open up a lot of team options and make the fight significantly easier. You can do boss no turns run with her firing spears on the background. Her follow-up will uptick the orb by 2. Thus, reducing the downtick penalty to 1 per action. The boss relies primarily on Brave gain from its attacks. From the 79% HP threshold, it will gain a post-turn Brave regen. After the LUFENIA auras are activated, you will see a warning message to warn you to reduce its Brave or you will get petrified. Brave gain negators are very useful for the fight. Setzer will be an excellent option here if not the bosses have immunity to his freeze debuff. Fortunately, we still have a lot of viable options. You can consider bringing Cater, Waka, Yuffie or Maria. Galbez and Sephiroth BTFX are great in preventing Brave gains. As mentioned earlier, turn deletion is one way to uptick the orb. You can bring either one of the 3 units, Zidane, Amidadalion, or Enacross. Do note that only the deleted target orb will uptick. Enacross have AoE deletion utility on her EX, however she will get her turn pushback whenever she uses it. So you bring an EX charger like Lyud with a turn manipulation unit like Rem to make her work. I have also included a list of additional units which I think will be viable for the fight. Beatrix offers a 1-turn mitigation with her Holy Knight safeguard that allows you to tank the Recast Ability safely. You can make use of party-wide last stand units like Purim, Eiko, or Queen for the fight. However, you will still need to upkeep the unit's HP condition above 50%. Units that offer traps that heal are great for hit and counter setups. Maria, Firion, and Celis are great options here. If you are bringing Celis, make sure you have Brave control utility in order for her to tank those attacks. If you have Freya, turn spammers like Tira and Titus are useful here. As boss is immune from delay from breaks, you can gain additional turns by using a turn spammer while in summon phase, as they will push the turns in the summon back, thus giving you those additional turns. On the screen, you will see a timeline showing the HP thresholds triggers that you need to watch out for. At the 79%, 49%, and 29% HP thresholds, the boss will autofill its recast gauge to max. At the 49% HP thresholds they will cleanse all debuffs except gold frame debuffs. Make sure you have turns before you trigger the 49% HP threshold, as all the debuffs will be cleansed and you will be taking those recast attacks at their maximum damage capacity. Other than the recast, the boss has a lot of hard-hitting attacks. The recast ability is the most important one to watch out for. Depending on the conditions, you will face a different type recast attack. I will discuss more on how to handle them in the later slides. The fight mechanics is the same as the one that we face for the Kaduch Lost chapter with a more restrictive orb condition. Every action taken will downtick the orb by 3, means you can't spam your skills relentlessly. You need to pay some careful attention to the orb management aspect of the fight. Other than a larger HP pool, the boss is immune to freeze debuff and launches as well. The orb conditions are geared favorably towards the banner units, Freya. With a lock call, she can evade the guaranteed hit attacks by hiding in mid-air and provides off-turn healing with her spear follow-up. Having her in the party will open up a lot of team comps. Now let's proceed with the boss mechanics proper. Like the previous LUFENIA Plus fights, the boss will gain big stats boosts, Brave damage, and Brave gain reduction auras when you deplete their HP to a certain threshold. The thresholds trigger for this fight is at the start of the fight, 79% HP threshold and 49% HP thresholds. At the start of the fight, it will boost its defense by 200%. At 79% HP threshold, it will further boost the defense to 300%. The maximum Brave damage reduction auras is 90%. The maximum Brave gain reduction auras are 70%. At the 79% HP threshold, the boss will also gain a post-turn Brave regen. So bring Brave control options or having sap or poison debuff is vital to ensure that the boss don't use the more dangerous recast variants. Next, I will be covering the boss key mechanics in detail. In addition to the standard LUFENIA Plus stats boosts, the bosses have additional mechanics when you deplete their HP down a certain HP threshold. At the 79% HP threshold, they will fill up their recast gauge to full. At the 49% HP threshold, they will fill up their recast gauge to full and cleanse all debuffs except for gold-framed ones. At the 29% HP threshold, they will fill up their recast gauge to full again. As the boss is immune to delay and delay from breaks, make sure you have some party turns before the boss turns when you trigger it. This is ensure you are able to set up countermeasures against them. Now let's focus more the recast ability. Depending the boss current Brave, the recast ability used will change. In general, controlling the boss initial Brave holds the key. If the boss current Brave is lower than its initial Brave, it will use Evil Eye, a single target Brave plus HP that is guaranteed hit. If the boss current Brave is equal or higher than its initial Brave, it will use Evil Eye Plus, which is a Brave gain, a single target Brave plus guaranteed hit HP attack. It will also inflict 2-turn Petrify aura. Petrification will disable the target turns for 2 turns. To remove it, you need to wait for 2 turns to lapse or kill the boss that inflicts the debuff. Do note that debuff cleansing or evasion won't work here, as the debuff is an aura with guaranteed hit. To prevent the boss from using Evil Eye Plus, Brave control options measures like using Cater LDCA are important here. Traps, sap and poison will also work wonders to ensure that the boss current Brave is always below the required initial Brave condition. If there are any petrified units when the boss uses its recast, it will use Eruption, which is a Brave gain, Brave plus HP guaranteed hit attack. It will trigger a game over if all 3 characters are petrified. We have come to the last slide of the guide. Generally, the possible team comps will vary depending on whether you have Freya in the party. If you have Freya, the fight is a lot easier with Freya. Spam her lancets in the background with a turn spammer, like Titus, Tira, Noctis, Papalymo, etc. However, the orb will still downtick by 1. You can uptick the orb while you are in summon or burst phase. If you don't have Freya, the difficulty becomes awfully harder, as you need to focus on upticking the orb with evasion or turn deletion. Do take note all forms of recast ability is guaranteed hit, so only Freya and Kain can dodge those attacks. To tank the hit, you need to use a tank while ensuring the boss current Brave is below their initial Brave with Brave gain nullification abilities to avoid Evil Eye Plus. Examples of Brave gain nullification options are Cater Freeze debuff, Waka Freeze Reels, Arsila LD debuff. You can use Sephiroth or Galbez BT auras to nullify BRV gains. Shiva Summon also inflicts a freeze debuff. Sap and poison debuff should also work, but you will still take some damage. If you doing the turn deletion strategy, you need to bring Zidane or Enacross. Enacross will need to bring Lyud and Rem to support her. Although her damage output is dated, Amidalion is still a viable option for the fight. On the right side of the screen, you can see some tips from me regards to the fight. When you are triggering the 49% HP thresholds, make sure you have some turns before the boss, so that you can reapply the debuff, since the boss will also fill up the recast gauge at the threshold. The boss has 90% Brave damage reduction auras. Make sure you have debuffs to reapply on them or your damage will be crippled. Traps that heals will also help to uptick the orb. They will also uptick the orb when the boss acts. Firion and Maria are off-banner MVP for these cause. Always target to keep the boss Brave under control. Poison or sap debuffs are very useful here to ensure that the boss Brave doesn't go above initial Brave when they are using their recast. Other than the recast ability, the boss have other nasty HP attacks to watch out for. Thankfully they are not guaranteed hit, but damage mitigation or evasion is highly recommended to handle those attacks. Do watch out for Drain Eye, which is a single target Brave Gain HP attack. The attack will heals the boss by HP damage dealt. The boss seems to use this before its recast gauge is filled. Towards the end of the fight, do watch out when the boss is targeting all. It will be ready to use Earth Crush, which is an AoE Brave plus HP attack. It will probably wipe out your party if you don't have Brave control or damage mitigation applied. With this, I have come to the end of the guide. If you like the video, please do give the video a like. Please do subscribe to my channel for future related content. Good luck for the event. Bye.